We are actively seeking volunteers. We want to train lieutenants and captains how to do repairs, give them that operational experience.
In this leadership log, we're learning about opportunities to be an aircraft battle damage repair engineer.
It was a very unique experience, especially for engineers. It's like one of the only ways that engineers can deploy overseas in an engineering capacity.
We'll hear who can apply to the program, how it supports the warfighter, how it can expand career opportunities, and allow service members to enhance their practical engineering skills.
ABDRE is a great program. It's a small community. We kind of all work together when it comes to just figuring out solutions.
People TDY in from other bases that have all sorts of different experiences working in different engineering and test units across the Air Force, and it's been a good opportunity to learn about what the Air Force has to offer.
Major, so let's start with you. For folks that don't know, what is the Aircraft Battle Damage Repair Office?
Hello, Brian. So the Aircraft Battle Damage Repair Engineering Office, under the Product Support Engineering Division, under Lifecycle Management Center, what we do is repair aircraft, but we don't just patch up a plane and get it back in the fight. There's an engineering behind it that we rely on, and that's looking at the platform, looking at the damage, analyzing the strength and the substructure behind it, making sure that we repair it as well as we can with the smallest amount of resources possible and get that plane back into either a full mission capable, partial mission capable, or a ferry flight. So there's 3 determinations of that repair. And based on that determination, we can get that aircraft to where it either goes back into the fight fully or goes back to the depot for a full contractor repair at any of the bases where it normally resides.
Well, sir, that sounds like a pretty cool job and a cool program. So can you, so if everyone's been in the program, can you all start by just telling me a bit about how you earned your certification?
Sure. To earn the ABDRE certification, there are 3 courses and an exercise that all volunteers must do. That's the Intro to ABDRE, the Technician's course, and Assessor's course at any of the 3 sites. Most of these courses are 2 weeks long, the most important one being the Intro to ABDRE. Here at this course, the instructors, my site leads, they teach the engineers how to create a sound repair. It's a 9-step process, doing all the calculations, doing the tensile strength, the substructure analysis, anything that they must do in order to create a repair that works and gets the plane back into the fight. Once these courses are met, it takes around maybe 6 months to complete all courses. Then you have that certification as an ABDRE. It's a special experience identifier. I will open the floor to the lieutenants to add more to that.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Majak. I'm the Tinker site lead. I came into the position about a year ago. I did the certification and then joined the program, and then I became a site lead. Obviously, our program is similar across the different sites, each being 2 weeks long. And then our engineers will also go through the technician course and the assessor course trained by the ABDR enlisted team. And then that way they gain the skills and knowledge so that they understand the team they're working with when it comes to, when we do our engineering, being able to understand what the technicians need from us in order to repair the aircraft. During that, or once they complete all 3 of those training requirements, then they are able to go to our exercise, which happens every 18 months for them to recertify. We usually, depending on the site, it usually happens once a quarter, and this allows our engineers to put their skills to use. So if they're hands-on, we give them a damage, and then they will be able to go through and the calculations and create the repair themselves.
Anyone else have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'll just add a little bit. It's been maybe close to 2 years since I went through the whole certification process, but like everybody was saying, engineering, that was kind of like your classroom setting. You're just sitting in a classroom learning how to calculate like margins of safeties, writing engineering depositions, that type of stuff. And then you get to do like a 2 week long tech and assessor course, and that's more to give you like an idea of like what the enlisted members do. So that's like the tech courses where you like really get your hands dirty. For my class, at least, we had the opportunity to put an axe through a decommissioned F-16. So that's pretty cool. Like, who gets to say they put an axe through F-16? So we created that damage, and then we patched it up using, the methods we were taught in that technician course. Then once you go through, those trainings, you go to the exercise, of course, and you get to, team up with the other enlisted members that went through their ABDR training, and then you'll be like the engineer on call to fix anything that's outside of what they can fix and design repairs for that.
Lieutenant Yankage?
So I'm Lieutenant Yankage. I'm the site lead at Hill Air Force Base. I actually began my certification process about 3 years ago now, and it was something I was able to do in conjunction with my regular job. My office was thankfully pretty familiar with ABDR, even though I actually came from a non-aircraft program office. So they allowed me to complete my certification, do everything I needed to do while I was still working in that other program. And then I just happened to get the site lead job because, it was open and it was time for me to PCA. But it was really nice to be able to learn more about aircraft sustainment and actual maintenance when that wasn't something I was getting from my day-to-day job. So that's something that other engineers could possibly look forward to in trying to compete for certification as an ABDR engineer.
So after a service member completes the training, what happens next, and where could they put those new skills to use?
For most engineers, they'll stay within the program. And what'll happen is that we give out the opportunity to allow them to deploy and become one of our DLEs, which is our Depot Liaison Engineer. We do a call for them twice a year. So they go in the spring and then the fall with 5 options available for deployed locations. So that's one way that they're able to implement those skills that they've learned as a DLE, but they also get to recertify doing exercises, like I said, every 18 months, and then they will be able to deploy with us if in the future something were to occur. So their DLE and our ABDR teams are separate, but there is opportunities, and we have TDYs that offer the ability to take that skill also and utilize it when it comes to different trainings or exercises that are occurring.
And I'm sorry, correct me if I'm mistaken, but did you say there's 2 opportunities a year to deploy, or is that just 2 classes a year?
There's 2 calls that we put out. So one in the spring and one in the fall is when our timeline for deploying engineers would be. So we'd send 5 engineers out in the spring and then 5 engineers out in the fall. It's a 6-month rotation. So once those 6 months conclude, we have our next 5 engineers follow up, and it's just that cycle.
Can you just briefly talk about some of the locations you could potentially be deployed to as a ABDRE engineer?
So some of the locations where DLEs can deploy to would be around CENTCOM and PACAF bases. I know Travis was at our CENTCOM base and enjoyed his time there. And again, it's all volunteer. You get to pick your location, provided that it's open. But again, through the call outs, we'll solicit volunteers to these locations.
Anyone else want to add anything to that?
I can talk to actually a lot about the deployed experience, because I actually got to go on one of those 5 deployments during during the summer cycle. I went to Saudi Arabia last April and came back last October. So I was out there as a Depot Liaison Engineer. It was a very unique experience, especially for engineers, because it's like one of the only ways that engineers can deploy overseas in engineering capacity. So got a lot of exposure to, how aircraft maintenance works, how logistics works. You're surrounded by a military working environment versus, the office environment that we experience out here. You just create so many close connections, diverse connections, because you're not just working within the acquisition community, but you're working alongside people who come from maintenance, supply, operations, intel, all these different career fields that you're interacting with on a daily basis. And when you're out there, at least for me, out there in the desert for 6 months, you really grow close to the people that you work with daily. So we still keep our connections today. And it was just unique experiences that, as an engineer, just sitting in an office wouldn't be able to experience otherwise. I had the pleasure to re-enlist one of the enlisted members that were in our office. So it's pretty unique to do that as an engineer, because you don't really work alongside that many enlisted on a day-to-day basis to be able to do that back here in the States. So yeah, it was just a very positive experience, very rewarding experience. And I think it's probably one of the main benefits of doing the ABDR program, is to be able to deploy, because all the DLEs have to have that ABDRE certification in order to deploy.
Can you talk a bit about like some of the damage that you could see on some of these aircraft?
Yes, so a lot of the damages happened mainly during their phase maintenance. So phase maintenance is kind of like what the maintenance units will do on like a regular basis. So like every 500 hours or so of flight hours, they'll do heavy maintenance on the aircraft and try to inspect it and find any damages. A lot of times we saw just like deficiencies or cracks and bolt holes and stuff that need to be reamed out. Sometimes there might have been a panel on a wing that might have got damaged or torn off. Sometimes there'll be, mechanical issues that are associated with the KC-135 tanker airplane that we were also working on out there when it came to, their fuel supply systems, and even electrical systems as well. So this is a large variety of different things you'll see out there. And you're kind of like that focal point to get any of those engineering items returned as fast as possible, because you're on a very high ops tempo when you're out there deployed. So they're really looking for a lot of these engineering items to return as soon as possible. And that's kind of like the main purpose of the engineers being out there, like on the ground, is providing that expedite ability to get stuff returned as fast as possible.
Yeah, so I'd like to bring up in the vein of like supplemental opportunities to use your certification outside of deployments. Every so often, we like to try and participate in joint exercises, sometimes with, other U.S. military organizations, but also foreign military. I was privileged enough to get to go participate in the Valiant Shield exercise this past year with the Australian Air Force, the UK Air Force, UK Navy, and the US Navy. We were in Australia for a couple of weeks, a lot of collaboration on understanding each other's, different ABDR type programs. A lot of, pretty much every other military, I would say, that we've interacted with, they don't have the exact same program of what we have. And so they're very interested in learning from us about what we do and how they could possibly kind of learn from us and implement what we do. So that's another way to use your ABDR certification to kind of spread the word across the services about our program. We were able to also take not just myself as a site lead, but also one of our other ABDR engineers with us to help with that whole exercise, and a handful of our ABDR technicians.
If a service member wants to apply for this training, the ABDRE training, can you talk a bit about the application process and what they need to do?
So I can speak on that a little bit. Normally the way I get people joining the program, they'll hear about it from a friend and they'll send me an email like, hey, I heard you're the site lead. Can you help me out with this process? Emailing the site leads is a great place to start, but we also do have a program inbox that all of us have access to. We'll be sharing that email somewhere within this this little podcast. But step one is to just email the program, say, hey, I'm interested in learning a little bit more about your program. Typically, we get the members set up with our training manager. She will send a volunteer statement that basically says, hey, I'm volunteering for this program. After that, we also have a separate, more official MFR, which the member will get their leadership to also sign. So that way we can confirm that not only the member's on board, but also their leadership is on board. And once we kind of get the process rolling with getting those documents signed, we can start getting members signed up for training.
ABDRE is very much a volunteer program, minus the site lead positions and mine. But we are actively seeking volunteers. We want to train the engineers how to do repairs, give them that operational experience, in the field, working on platforms, a variety of platforms, I should say, ranging from bombers, tankers, fighters, cargo, rotary, just to name a few. But that's why here at the site leads, they manage an ABDR program where they focus on those type of platforms. So like at Hill, you have the fighters, at Tinker, you have the bombers and tankers. And then at Robbins, you have your cargo and rotary. But all of these teach one thing, and it's how to repair the platform and get it back in the air as quickly as possible with the smallest team possible.
Well, you all have shared some really great information today. Thank you so much. So I would say in closing, what would you like Air Force engineers to know about the program? And do you have any takeaways that you would like engineers and folks within, the AFLCMC community to know about ABDRE and your experience with the program?
Yeah, I think ABDRE is a great program overall. It's a small community. We kind of all work together when it comes to just figuring out solutions, and you learn how to incorporate yourself with, a maintenance team. And it's kind of the best of both worlds of doing engineering and maintenance. It gives you the ability to be hands-on while using your brain. And I think that's just one of those great moments that most engineers don't get that opportunity. And because it's a volunteer program, things can happen in your life and you don't maybe not be able to do so, but we do give those opportunities to all engineers that if they're able to take on, and do this, then we're more than happy to assist them and, join them into the ABDR program.
I'll say, I think it's a great opportunity for engineers if they want to go out and have a unique experience, if they want to go out and deploy and experience, a new culture in a different location. Forgot to mention, but one of the coolest things that I got to do when I was out there in Saudi Arabia was I got to fly on a KC-135 for refueling missions and actually see, the boom operator refuel the aircraft that were there with us. So that, and as well as like being immersed in a totally different culture, they're just being there, experiencing different things, and doing something that you otherwise wouldn't be able to do here back in the office. So great opportunity if you want to go out and do cool stuff. And I can't speak any higher than my experience being deployed and just the benefit that it had on me.
I kind of like to also piggyback off of what Lieutenant Majak said about how, we have such a small, tight-knit community with the ABDR engineers. I've not only made a bunch of friends through doing this program and, going through all the training courses, teaching people, but it's also been a great opportunity to learn more about the Air Force because, you got people coming in from all different backgrounds. At Hill, especially, we have a lot of people coming in from aircraft expos, but, people TDY in from other bases that have all sorts of different experiences working in different engineering and test units across the Air Force. And it's been a good opportunity to learn about what the Air Force has to offer, to kind of help maybe give you or some of the other members a little bit more direction in your career, understanding that, you know, hey, my first assignment, my second assignment, that's not the only thing I have to stick with. So that's been pretty beneficial for me, at least. And then on top of that too, one of the other things I didn't mention before, but that I've gotten to do because of my ABDR certification, is I've gotten to do a lot of work with the Advanced Composites Office at Hill. They have their own courses that you can take to just learn about the composite repair process. And that's something that I'm personally interested in, because we've been working with 5th gen supportability, but I've been able to direct a lot of our ABDR engineers over there to take their courses. And not only does that benefit them, you know, professionally and as they're, you know, in their role as an ABDR engineer, but it's also benefited their home offices, you know, so that they have that knowledge and they can share that with their other coworkers. So we've been able to work together a lot on that front as well.
Major, is there anything you would like to close with?
Yes. The big takeaway with ABDRE is that it gives lieutenants and captains an opportunity to utilize the skills that they've learned, the engineering calculations, all that they've done. Basically, you apply this to an ABDR operations, you work with a team of technicians and assessors to make a repair. It's a symbiotic relationship because technicians and assessors need the engineer, we need the technicians and assessors. Together, we fulfill the mission of ABDR, and that is to repair aircraft as quickly as possible, correctly as possible, and bring those platforms back into the fight.
Well, I really appreciate you all's time. You guys, I think you have an amazing job, especially when you think about all of the different aircraft that are in the Air Force. You know, having the ability to work on all of them is so cool, and especially going forward with the new assets coming on board or being fielded. So thank you. Thanks for what you do, and I really appreciate your time.